Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another watch list. Basically, think of this as like a monthly TV guide for me to let you know what and when TV shows that I'm interested in and maybe you're interested in are coming out. Like always, in the description down below, I'll include any links to any trailers that may be available about anything that I bring up during this watch list. First up, on July 4th on Netflix, we have season 3 of Stranger Things. Very excited, especially with a lot of the trailers that come out has got me even more excited than I already was. I'm so interested to see, where season 3 takes us. It feels like this is going to be the biggest season, as I've kind of stated in a different video, just from what's going down in the trailers. And I'm so excited to see where everybody's story takes them. Obviously, we like the whole aspect of it is too, like, hey, the kids are getting older, and obviously a lot of it's almost like, can we stay the same group of friends because we're getting older, we're changing. So I think a lot of that's going to be delved into it, but obviously it almost feels like to a certain extent we almost have like a full-blown main antagonist, whereas it just seems like before there were just like enemies who kind of fill the role of main antagonist. It seems like we outright have an antagonist potentially like planning things out, at least from like the most recent trailer that came out made it seem like that. So I'm very excited to see what this season has in store for us. On July 11th on the CW, we have season 2 of The Outpost. Now, if you don't know what The Outpost is about, essentially it's this woman who's a part of this group of people known as Black Bloods because they have black blood. Well, basically her people were wiped out and she's the only one, and basically it's this kind of medieval fantasy series about her basically seeking revenge. And so obviously she took big steps in that regard in season 1 without going too much into spoilers, but obviously I'm curious to kind of figure, because there's still a lot more to it that we really haven't fully explored yet, that I'm interested to see where they take us in season 2. Like I said, her revenge wasn't fully complete, so maybe this season kind of maybe even more world building, because obviously the world's kind of stayed one particular place. That's the Outpost. We've seen little bits here and there throughout the world, but it's mainly the Outpost. I mean, it makes sense, but I feel like there's still a lot to the world we still don't 100% know. So I'm very interested to see where Talon's story ends up taking us this season. On July 16th, also in the CW, we have this new series come out called Pandora. From what I can read online, there's not a whole bunch of information out yet, but it seems like to be this new sci-fi series about a girl who's a part of this space academy, and that basically there are threats that are coming that she kind of has to defend. I don't even know what to really expect from the show, because from at the time we're recording this, there's not even a trailer out for it yet. I think the only thing that's come out so far, it's one key art. Other than that, we really don't know too much about it seemed like there's going to be artificial humans and stuff like that, just from that tiny bit I read from an article. I try not to read too much ahead and certain things like that. So obviously more information will most likely come out later on, but it's going to be well after I've already recorded this. So, but I'm very interested, just from a little bit that was kind of described, what the feel of the show is going to be. Obviously it's going to be the same night as the 100, so my mind can't automatically go there. It's oh, so is it going to be like the 100, but instead of kind of being on a planet, will it mainly take place in space? With the 100, it bounced back and forth up to a certain point in the series, and then obviously it stayed mainly on Earth. It's a whole thing. So I'm curious, is this entire series going to take place in space, or what these particular enemies are going to look like? Is it going to be humans versus aliens, what the aliens potentially would look like? I'm very curious to see what it all ends up being, because it might not even be aliens. Maybe it's just, I don't know. Like I said, don't know what to expect. On July 19th on Sci-Fi, we have the 5th and final season of Killjoys premiering, which I'm very excited for. I went ahead and, I've known for a while now that the 5th season was going to be the final season of the series. So I'm excited to see how this series ends up, concluding. If you don't know what Killjoys is, I highly recommend you check out the show, especially with the final season coming up. Essentially, it's kind of, Killjoys, who are basically kind of a cross between bounty hunters and mercenaries, but it's obviously grown so much more since the main antagonists have kind of been introduced. Well, we've had these antagonists kind of pop up, but it seems like this season is where we really get our true main antagonist, and I'm really kind of diving into seeing what she's all about, understanding her more about, what her ambitions are and what she's planning, how she ended up getting sealed in the green in the first place. Where does Davin, Dutch, and Johnny, where does their story end up when this is all said and done? Will there be a happy ending for them? I kind of would think there would be, but you never know. This show might end up having like a depressing ending in certain regards. I don't know. Either way, I'm very curious to see how this space epic essentially, you know, concludes. On July 26th on Amazon Prime Video, or just, you know, Prime Video, we have the series premiere of The Boys. Now, this is a series I'm not that well versed in. This is just, you know, what I know about it just from what I've seen from the trailers, because I've never read the comic book that is actually based on, but it seems like such an interesting premise. Essentially, it's a world where superheroes exist. In particular, there's like these heroes known as the Seven, and it seems like, I thought like, okay, so we're gonna be taking the perspective of the Seven, and like it didn't click until I saw the trailer. I was like, no, our characters aren't the Seven. Our main protagonists are people like who are tired of, like, it's that thing of like, oh yeah, the superheroes kind of run amok and cause damage, and normal people kind of have to pick up the slack. And so it seems like the series focuses on a group, and I guess they're just the boys, who are basically dealing with them, like trying to kind of put them in their place, because they're superheroes that are kind of got caught up in the celebrity of it all. I think it's kind of what I'm piecing together, and you know, they're just kind of fooling themselves, and just like so much casualties kind of come about because of them doing the superhero thing. Because from what I can, it seems like everyone is a part of this group, you know, the boys. It seems like they don't have any powers, at least for what I was kind of basing on from the trailer. It seemed like they had any, so it's kind of like normal folk going up against superheroes. Potentially, I don't know. Like I said, not unless I'm misinterpreting a lot of the trailer, which a lot of times can end up happening, but it seems really crazy and kind of fucked up, so I'm very interested to kind of dive into like the craziness that is going to be this series. So I'm very excited to check it out. And finally, on July 28th on Epix, we have Pennyworth. This is something I've actually talked about before. It is essentially a prequel to Batman, actually kind of like another prequel, because Gotham was a prequel before, but this isn't a prequel to Gotham. This is kind of, it's a Batman prequel, but it's its own thing. It's actually kind of based, like, it's being created by some of the people who created Gotham, but it's a completely different thing. It's not connected to Gotham's continuity. Essentially, it follows Alfred, you know, Batman's loyal and trusted advisor slash butler, Alfred Pennyworth. And this is basically him when he was younger, basically a little bit after he left his military days behind him, and he actually meets Thomas Wayne. Essentially, he forms this kind of security group for Thomas and ends up helping him. It seems like it takes place entirely in the UK. Like I said, this is like well before they go back to Gotham and everything. So it's not going to be so, there might be some references here and there to some like Batman lore stuff, but I wouldn't expect too much. It just, because this isn't really even like, this isn't Bruce's story, this isn't a Wayne story. I mean, it's going to be connected, sure, but this is Alfred's story. It's like the main thing to kind of get across. So it seems kind of like you get kind of a bit of an like action-y crime drama, because it seems like Alfred's going to cross paths with like serial killers and people like that, all while, you know, he's defending Thomas Wayne, because obviously he's a big name, wealthy person, you know, so it's like obviously he's going to attract a lot of people. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they end up doing with that, especially because obviously some continuities kind of make it seem like the Waynes aren't the best people. Once again, it's not the same thing, but obviously like Gotham kind of tiptoed in like, oh, the Waynes kind of did some messed up stuff. Even like Telltale's Batman kind of dabbled with that. I'm sure maybe that's some storylines in the comic books, but I'm curious to see, are they going to depict the Waynes the same way in Pennyworth, or what? Like, is Alfred we're going to see from Alfred's perspective some of this questionable stuff that Thomas might do. I'm very interested to see, you know, what the show ends up being about, like what kind of feel it as, you know. And that brings this month's watch list to an end. Like always, if there's something else that's coming out this month that maybe you're interested in, that maybe I wasn't aware of, that you think, hey, I would be interested in, or maybe someone else would be, don't be afraid to leave it in the comments down below. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.